listening to Blue Collar Takes with your hosts, Pat and Ben.
Welcome back, everybody. It's kind of a somber mood right now. Pat, what's up, man?
Hey Ben, what's happening?
Well, it turns out we were a little ahead of the power curve, and the New Year's Eve night or New Year's morning explosion, we saw it coming, and
Yeah,
unfortunately, we were right. And dude, there's so much shit popping off right now.
yeah. So
So
I'm just sorry. I'm just trying to get updates. There's a as we are recording at about 10 o'clock on the first our time. There's a hostage situation going on in Vegas, and this is obviously after the Tesla truck that had the bomb in the back that they tried to blow up at Trump International Hotel. Um,
yeah,
so
so,
not
so I
not
guess
a
we
lot
backtrack.
of not a lot going on or not a lot of information, I guess, going on with
No,
this. But apparently, it's a bus.
and this
There's
has me
people on
worried.
it. Yeah,
This has me worried. This is one. Uh, so let's just backtrack a little bit. The first guy the guy who attacked the New Year's Eve party, right?
yeah,
That cat, he's ISIS. They've identified him. And so for those that aren't following, Pat just kind of laid it out. Early New Year's Day morning.
it was
So
like 3 a.m.
late New Year's Eve night, right?
Hmm.
The New Year's Eve night party going into New Year's Day morning. There's an explosion in Louisiana and in New Orleans, and we have a death toll of 15 right now.
I think it right now it stands at 15. Yeah, and
And there's
last I heard there was 30 injured, but I think that was probably
uh,
five of the people that because I it was 10 dead and 30 injured, so maybe 25 still injured. I'm not sure.
dude, it's fucking tragic. So he's come out, they've identified him. I'm looking for his name, I can't find it. Uh
It was I'm gonna screw it up, but I have it here somewhere.
very ISIS-y.
Um, Sorry, I'm trying to track Twitter for that
No, you're good.
hostage situation right now. Um, I was trying to pull up stuff on the Trump Tower.
I just watched the Trump Tower explosion.
Yeah,
Uh
I just sent you a video. We'll play it a little later. The sheriff talking about or the yeah, I think it's sheriff. It's Metro Police. It's sheriff. So um, talking about how the Tesla truck saved well at least one guy. There's a video of one guy standing right next to it,
yeah.
and
Okay, so I'm identifying something right off the bat with the Tesla truck. It's fireworks.
yeah, it's fireworks.
It's fireworks and it's black powder. I can see the black powder from the
Hmm.
white cloud, the white. Yep. Okay. So,
Yep, and there was gas cans. Like if you see that, I think I maybe sent you that video. If you watch that video, they show like the back of the Tesla truck. It looks
yeah,
like there's some sort of fuel cans that were in there, and it looks like road flares, but the fireworks definitely
absolutely.
fireworks in there because that one video that shows it, it's you can see the fireworks going off.
Where is the one you just sent me with the picture of the back of the truck, you said?
Oh, hang on.
Why have I
Oh,
not? Okay, I think I found it. I found it.
you get it?
Yep. Okay, yep. So those are definitely fireworks. That's black powder. Okay, there's a keg of black powder in there, which is why you saw the white smoke.
Yeah.
All right. Uh,
It looks like there's 3 or 4 cans. It could be even like um turpentine or something.
Yeah, there's
It
accelerant.
almost it
That's where the
almost looks
flame
like the paint thinner cans that you get.
looks like he's got propane in there. All right, so okay, that one. Okay, so let's break this down. So the bomb that went off in New Orleans, legit. Okay, that was a legit explosive device, something like we would see overseas.
In
This
in
one
Ve- in New Orleans, what bomb?
in 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 New
That
Orleans.
I thought there wasn't one that went off in New Orleans.
What was it that killed the?
It was a truck. The
Oh yeah,
dude he
he
drove
drove
through it.
through.
So they
Yeah,
they
yeah.
had IEDs in the vehicle, but I don't believe they went off.
They found IEDs at the scene. That's what
Yeah.
it was. Yeah, yeah.
Yep. Yep. He drove through the crowd, and there's a video of that. I just watched a video of
I don't
him
even know that I
turning
want to see it.
turning around the police because the police are barricading the road, and he like slowly pulls up to the front of the squad car and just guns it around the car, and then he takes off down the street, and there's a cop that instantly gets out, and that guy got out and started rattling off
Shooting
rounds at the police. So I believe the police killed him. He didn't die in a vest or anything like, or a bomb or anything like that. They
after
killed
he
him.
had already ran people over.
Right. He got out of the vehicle. He must have crashed into a building because taking that turn all the way around the squad car like that, I'm sure he lost control and then hit something on either another car or maybe a barrier or something. And then,
Okay, so you have one vehicle attack that's driving, and he had IEDs in it.
and
Impro-
a
and
weapon.
and an IED can be anything. An IED is just
Correct.
improvised explosive device.
Yep.
So I mean, it could
Yep.
be a pipe bomb. It could be something with fireworks as well.
Sure. Yep.
The second one here with the Trump Hotel with the explosion, that is not something like we would have seen overseas. That is something like amateur hour watching this video.
Yeah.
This is
This looks like somebody that tried to put a bunch of stuff that would go boom together to make something really
this is
go
so
boom, and it
this is
didn't
somebody
work.
who didn't do their homework. And I'm not
Correct.
trying to give a freaking lesson here, but you never put stuff together in individual sticks. You would break those down and you'd push that all into one container, one vessel. And that's how you get the
Right.
compression,
Yeah.
right? That's
Yeah. Yeah.
so
Yeah. You'd need to combine them.
if you look at the Boston bomber, they used fireworks and
Well, they used
stuff
it. Yeah, but then they put it in a pressure cooker, right?
in a pressure cooker. So they put it
Yeah.
in one vessel, contain it in the
Yeah.
vessel.
Mm-hmm.
This is amateur, but this almost to me, the one in front of Trump's Hotel, and this almost looks like this almost to me is like this isn't ISIS. This almost is like some college kid who's you know pro Hamas, anti-Israel, hates Trump and Elon now is trying to make a political statement and drove this truck up here. And I bet you the kid's dead. That's the one victim is probably the
No,
driver of the
it
truck.
was that was the only person that was hurt. I mean, it didn't even blow. So they're saying, and maybe I'll play it now. Um, but they're saying that the design of the Tesla truck prevented it from.
Yeah,
It
it's a
made it
beast.
blow up out the
Yeah,
top,
so
and so then
so
it didn't even break the glass doors at Trump
yeah.
Tower, which was parked right next to.
Which is amazing because all explosives can be tamped, and what that means is you could put anything on the back of an explosive charge and shape it and direct the cone of blast off of the charge, right? So
Mhm.
that's exactly if you're watching the video of the Tesla truck when it blows up, it goes straight up because every explosive device goes up in a cone, right? Because it's pressure, every action has an equal and opposite reaction, so it
Mhm.
pushes just as hard up. But it
Yeah.
couldn't level out across the ground, and the Tesla truck diverted this. It tamped it straight up into the air, and you could see the fireworks coming out of the back of the truck at a 45-degree angle.
Hmm.
So really poor choice of vehicle to use for this,
Yeah. So
which
here's
is
a
really juvenile or not juvenile, but really yes, this is
well, it was probably made to make a statement, right? And
that's absolutely what
they
it
thought
is.
they could get that battery to go, and you're just not going to.
Mm-mm.
So here's that um little soundbite.
Okay.
You hear it?
Mm-mm.
Hmm. Well, must not be a very good sound on the All right, so I guess I don't have it, but I can't get it to play any louder, so it must be somebody recording it from the TV or something. This is just not picking it up.
So,
But he's
uh,
basically saying that the outside of the Cybertruck is intact,
yeah,
and so it forced it up. The battery was not affected at all, and so I
what an
think,
advertisement. What an
yeah,
advertisement for the
right,
Cybertruck.
yeah. But the other thing to get when people started reporting this, everybody was reporting it that was just a Tesla truck fire, like the battery, was on fire or whatever. And people were getting after other people saying, "No, this isn't connected. Like this isn't connected to the other thing." And maybe it's not,
I don't know that
but
it is. But I also
it's
don't
pretty
believe in
coincidental.
coincidences.
Yeah.
Yeah. So,
Yep.
I mean, here's what I think. I think we're gonna find that it's a very loose connection, and what I mean by loose connection is whoever did this at Trump Tower or whatever this was, not Trump Tower, this Trump Hotel, uh, probably visits the same chat rooms, the same places as a lot of the Hamas pro ISIS, pro Hamas, anti Israel, anti US crowd
Hmm.
has gone.
Yeah.
And the timing of all of this is very suspicious when you have, because the explosion was in Trump's hotel in Vegas, right?
Correct.
And now you have a hostage situation on a bus in Vegas,
Correct. And at this moment, they have the house surrounded. SWAT has the house surrounded in New Orleans where that
in New
guy is
Orleans.
supposedly stayed or whatever.
And so you have the vehicle borne attack in New Orleans with explosive devices. You got the Cybertruck in front of the Trump Hotel in Vegas, and now somebody on a bus in a hostage situation in Vegas. And I mean, this could be just a bunch of crazy coincidences, but um, two of the three so far have explosive devices. If this third one has
Correct.
an explosive device, and we find out that this third one's either Muslim or uh, pro-Hamas, anti-Israel, then I would have to say there's absolutely no way it's coincidence. Even if the other one, which I'm sure this one at the hotel, Trump's hotel, it's so novice. Um, I just keep watching the explosion of the vehicle, and I'm just thinking
So
that is
it's
so
a
novice.
it was a rented Cybertruck.
Yeah, I mean, it's
Yeah.
just to make a statement, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Um, but it's so novice because if this, you can tell, my God. All right, so real talk. So if you're going to initiate an explosive device, you have to have an initiator, some sort of, whatever it is that's going to initiate the explosive cap, blasting cap, whatever it is, right? You could have it on a fuse, you could have it on a time delay, you could have it on like a garage door opener, the battery pack, and a jumper. You could have it on like walkie-talkie, cell phone, whatever, two-way radio. You whatever it is to initiate it. But this dude was in the vehicle when it went off, which that is a suicide bombing. So now it makes me wonder how he initiated this device, because if he's in the front of the vehicle, which it looks like they're pulling him out of the front of the vehicle, that it just immediately went up in flames.
Hmm.
So now I want to know two things here. What was the initiating device that set this off?
Yep.
Because you can tell they're fireworks. You can tell that he had some sort of propane in there. You can tell he had some kind of accelerant in there for sure to make the fireball. And then he had black powder kegs that don't even look like they were touched, really. And then he had just individual wrapped tubes of fireworks, like Roman candles and all sorts of stuff to try to make as much of a boom as he could make, right?
Hmm.
Um, I want to know how he initiated it. If this was something where he ripped the back seat out of the Cybertruck to get into the bed of the truck and just lit a fuse, that is about as amateur as it comes. If we find out that this individual used a dead man switch or a pressure switch or a some kind of switch,
Hmm.
because I mean a there's a lot of different ways you can clack off this explosive device and explosive device. I don't know about this one, but sure, you could get a blasting cap, stick it in a keg of of white powder, and I definitely saw a white powder explosion or black powder explosion, and it
Mhm.
gives you that white cloud. Um, so he could have a blasting cap, but I don't think he did. I think he used a firework as an
Or
initiator in
yeah,
black powder.
firework or road flare or something.
Yeah, and I think he had all that shit tied together, bundled up. And it
Hmm.
looks to me like, honestly, like whatever he had that was the main charge was in the middle,
Hmm.
and everything else was tied or bundled up around it, and it just shoved it off to the side. And
Yeah.
that's why shit starts flying up in the air. So he only had one of his, yep, I can tell right now. He only had from this other video, he only had one of his explosives go off. The rest lit individually, and we're starting to shoot fireworks everywhere.
Hmm.
So this Trump hotel attack is completely fucking amateur. Even if this thing would have been in any other vehicle, contained in a vehicle, it would have blown the windows out of the vehicle and started a fire just the
Yeah.
same.
Yeah.
So the vehicle didn't matter. It looks good in the Tesla truck, but I can tell you from what I'm seeing right now, this is as amateur hour as it gets. So this is not going to be a well-trained ISIS fighter who's been fighting in jihad over in the Middle East who snuck through the border and
Hmm.
got here. Um, this guy, he may be Muslim, but he's not going to be tied to any of that. The thing which makes me believe this guy will be Muslim instead of just some random uh blue hair that's pissed at Trump who's a pro Hamas is that he was willing to die in the truck.
Yeah.
So that is a very jihad thing to do. So you don't see too many, you know, Antifa kids willing to freaking burn themselves to death in a truck.
Sure.
So well, that's probably going to end up being a Muslim in that vehicle who honestly was like, all right, it's time to attack. And this is going to be a pro Hamas, anti Israel of some kind. God, or he just thought he could get out of the vehicle and he didn't get out in time.
Yeah. I don't know.
And
Maybe.
oh boy, I would like to get more information on this one.
Hmm.
The first one, the use of the vehicle, the deadly attack.
Hmm.
Uh, okay, so the suspect's name is Shamsuddin Jabbar. Um, yeah, the vehicle has an ISIS flag right in the back, so that kind of tips the hand.
Well, okay. Can we stop there for a second?
Mm-hmm.
I got a soundbite I want to play from this morning's press conference from the agent in charge.
We know there's a terrorist offense, and we know there's a terrorist
Hang
connection
on one
here.
second. Sorry.
If you would have asked me this morning, I would say it's fairly obvious there were IEDs in the area,
Let me.
and we know
There
there's
we
a
go.
terrorist connection here.
Do you hear that?
Mm-hmm.
It's fairly obvious there were IEDs in the area. The ISIS flag was very visible. It was right there on the back of his truck. And look, I understand you want to be cautious with information. I get that. I was press secretary during COVID-19. You have to be cautious. But why wasn't the FBI cautious in saying this? I want to play this from this morning. They were very clear that they could rule one thing out at 6 a.m. local time.
This is not a terrorist event. What it is right now is their improvised explosive devices that was found. And we are working on confirming if it's a viable device or not.
Okay, so
Why
a
say
couple.
that categorically when you had to?
So
Okay.
that was the agent in charge of the New Orleans
Yeah.
field office.
The liberals are so terrified of calling something a terrorist
Mhm.
attack, right? Because I mean, this is their fault 100%. I mean, we've gone soft on terror and we've
Well,
gone soft on border and soft on
yeah.
this pro Hamas, pro this, pro that. We've let the college campuses get overrun by all this rhetoric and bullshit. We've let our own kids get radicalized under Obama and let go join ISIS, and we never really did anything about it until Trump got in office, and then Trump went hard as fuck. And then we went back to Biden, and I mean, the whole focus has been on Ukraine, right? I mean,
Hmm.
you can't take your thumb off the pulse of this thing, and we talked about it before with Hamza bin Laden, right? We thought Hamza bin Laden was dead. He's not dead. He is alive in Afghanistan, in northern Afghanistan. He is operating as the commander of Al Qaeda right now. And I will tell you the videos that are coming out of northern Afghanistan of the Al Qaeda fighters that are training to mimic our special operations, they look like they are fucking special ops guys. They don't look like the fucking Taliban or the ISIS fighters or the Al Qaeda fighters that I fought. The days of like watching a bunch of uncoordinated fucks try to go across a jungle gym, like the monkey bars on a jungle gym, and
Mhm.
you're just laughing at what they look like because they have no clue. Those days are gone. These guys are legit and they're well trained. Um, this is what pisses me off, right? Like they're not willing to call it a terrorist attack, but a guy with an ISIS flag on the back of his vehicle finds a crowd. We know we talked about it a week ago that they are looking for new targets like a January 7th style or a October 7th style attack on the United States.
Mhm.
Um, and this is not over. And now that you have Hamza bin Laden unifying ISIS, Al Shabaab, Hamas, Hezbollah, um, a, a ton of different factions of terrorist groups under the same banner to reinstitute the caliphate. For people who don't know what we're talking about when we say reinstitute the caliphate, in Islam, especially in the extremist versions of Islam, they believe that a caliphate will be started or brought to power, and one person will lead that caliphate, and that'll usher in peace on earth because everyone will convert over to Islam. So that's their goal, and they've been fighting a jihad against us ever since. So, ever since they started talking about a caliphate in the late 70s, early 80s. Um, yeah, this is like to have the FBI not willing to like at least say we have no comment. We'll let the investigation.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like we have to
Well,
see where the investigation takes us. Not that this is not a terrorist attack. What we have is some improvised explosive devices. Hey, you know who used improvised explosive devices before? Terrorists. We have some. We just are checking to make sure they were viable devices. Hey, you know what terror is? It's spreading fear. It doesn't have to
mhm.
be a fucking attack. With explosive devices, it doesn't have to be a viable attack with an explosive device. The guy could have thought he was putting together something great, and it doesn't have to go off, but he still fucking killed people with a vehicle.
Yeah. Yeah, the
Um,
the FBI was filmed taking a picture of the ISIS flag before that. Like they knew.
of
They knew
course,
exactly what
of
it
course,
was.
of course they did, but it's not a terrorist attack. And I'll tell you why that the only possible reason that they would say they don't know if it's a terrorist attack or not is because they know there's more threats out there and they're
Yeah.
actively trying to
Yeah.
run those threats down on the
Yeah.
homeland, right?
Mhm.
And they
Mhm.
don't want to tip the hand that okay,
Mhm.
we know this is a terrorist attack. They don't want to tip the hand. So this is just ridiculous.
Mhm.
This thing on the bus. This is a very boy, this is bringing back some memories of the mid 90s, late 90s in Britain. There was a bombing on a bus in Britain, and same thing. Stood everybody up on the bus, took a bus full of passengers, and I think it was in London actually. Um, yeah. Oh, so it was actually July 7th, 2005. Um, which this is it was tragic. I don't remember how many died in this attack, but um July 2005, there were a series of four coordinated suicide attacks carried out by Islamist terrorists that targeted commuters traveling on London's public transportation system in the morning rush hour. 784 people were injured, and those were improvised explosive devices that were used, mostly vests, I think, if I remember correctly. 52 people were killed, and that 800 total were injured in the attacks. So this is kind of reminiscent of it. Like, man, I don't know if way too early to tell. This might just be some psycho with a knife on a bus
Mhm.
or some guy with a gun, but the timing of it is very suspect.
So the
But
big sorry, still
yeah,
recovering. Um The biggest question now that I see, and I was trying to look for the video while you were talking. I can't find it, but there was a representative that was talking to somebody in the press about the person. So this vehicle had license plates from Texas. It crossed the border 2 days ago into the U.S. and they're trying to figure out if there is a area in Mexico that if he went down into Mexico before, obviously he was from here, so at some point he went down there and he came back in. And if who he met with, like, what is there a fucking group there? Is there some sort of like
Network there.
network. Sorry, I couldn't come up with the word.
Well,
Network
so
there, a
here's-
house there that is where they're getting their orders.
So
And
here's-
now where that Cybertruck, where that comes from, if that was a rented vehicle, so when they go back to all of that, if that guy had crossed the border in the same area.
Okay, we're gonna yeah, fuck it. I'm guessing.
Yeah.
With a wink and a nod.
Mm-hmm.
I'm guessing what we are going to know after this
Mm.
is that cartels
Yes.
are working with certain groups. They're being paid off.
Well, that's been said that they've been working with ISIS groups.
Correct. But I think we're also going to find a link to China.
Sure.
And we're going to find a link to I'm not doing there, but I think we're going to find some links coming real soon.
Mm-hmm.
And we need to be very careful. And why do we need to be very careful? Because 9/11 to me was an inside job. You had 13 terrorists that were allowed to come to a flight school in the United States. They were known to be not allowed to be in here, and somebody in the State Department signed off on them for them to show up to the United States, learn how to fly planes, not even learn how to land, to crash into buildings, whatever. And they were connected to bin Laden. Bin Laden had already attacked the World Trade Centers in 1991, and bin Laden was a CIA asset that we basically put in power to create the Mujahideen to fight off the Soviet Union in the 80s in Afghanistan. And our own Central Intelligence Agency gave them the weapons and created the Mujahideen, just like our own CIA gave the weapons to the Muslim Brotherhood, which then created ISIS, 30 years later. So I want to be very, very careful here, because these types of things, when they find a link to China, they find a link to whoever they're going to find a link to. Cartels are working with ISIS fighters who are being propped up by China or whatever it is, right?
Mm-hmm.
I think we're going to find that. I think that link is going to be thrown out there and talked about. When that stuff starts happening, we all need to be real skeptical, unless it's the Trump government, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
If within the next couple weeks, within the next week, really, before January 20th, if Biden comes out and Biden's CIA or Homeland Security or the NSA comes out and they have a classified briefing or declassified briefing, and they say we're finding all these ties in Mexico with the cartels and also with China, we need to be real cautious about that information. And why do I say that? Because they would love nothing more than to throw us into another war, especially with China and Russia. And they would love to use this to be the start of everything. Now, think about this. You have both China and Russia who also would like to see the U.S. get extended more than what we are. Why would they like that? Because then we would stop sending weapons and shit to Russia or to the Ukraine to fight Russia. We would just send them and have troops on the ground somewhere to go fight a terrorist group, right? So this is just we just have to be very skeptical of any information coming out in the next week and a half, 2 weeks. Why do I just don't trust. I don't trust the deep state. I don't trust our government with Biden at the helm. I don't trust the people that are propping Biden up. These are the same people that we're supposed to believe that had no idea that he was cognitively impaired. That's
Yeah.
not true at all. That's
Yeah.
not true at all. These people are lying through their teeth, and the reason why they're lying through their teeth is because they have an agenda, and it's not Biden's agenda. Biden is just the guy who is, you know, in the middle of it all.
Occupying the position.
Mm-hmm. This is
So remember,
Oh my
the car
gosh.
was used in the Germany Christmas market
mm-hmm.
that killed 2 and nearly 70 injured,
Uh,
or maybe more than 2.
the guy in Wisconsin a couple years ago,
The parade, the Christmas parade.
a Christmas parade, right?
Yep.
So I mean, this isn't a first.
Vehicles are the new thing.
This isn't a first, right?
Right.
Um, yeah, that's the nicest flag plain as day.
So remember that what was also happening in New Orleans was the now I'm gonna get the bowl name wrong, but it was a bowl game for the college playoffs. So there was a lot of people in town there, extra people in town for the college playoff game that was supposed to be played today.
Yep.
I know that those hotels were put on lockdown. They postponed the game for 24 hours. They did another sweep at the stadium before they gave the all clear. But they ended up postponing it, guessing because they thought maybe there was more to come, or they just weren't sure yet. And so they locked down the team hotels and,
Well, what does that tell you? Anytime that they lock everything down, they know something's up, right? They have
Right.
more inside information.
Correct.
And here's the deal, like there's always when these guys are looking at stuff, uh they're always hearing chatter, right? They're
Mhm.
always paying
Mhm.
attention and they're always watching and whatever. When the chatter stops,
Yeah.
that's when they get scared. That's when they're like, "Oh shit," because that means everybody runs their mouths in these boards, and they're always like, Allahu Akbar. We want to kill the West. We want to do this. I want to blow up and it's so always that it kind of it creates a sense of complacency, I'm sure, for these case officers, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
And then one day, like a day like today, all of a sudden it's silence, right? Well, then they go back and they review and they're like, "Hey, was there anybody who gave like a go code? Was there anything that happened? Did anybody post a bunch?" And I bet you money we're gonna see this guy who was driving the truck posted something, or somebody he was connected to
Mhm.
posted something because they're looking for somebody else too, right? And in that is probably the go code, right? So like something happened that set these guys off. They had probably like everyone else who carries out any kind of attack, a primary, secondary, and tertiary plan. Like here's your primary target, here's your secondary, here's your tertiary. Um, ooh,
Is that guy was a former Army staff sergeant?
the guy who was the driver
Yeah.
in the U.S.
Yep. So he was former Army staff sergeant, served from 2007 to 2015, with one deployment to Afghanistan and additional service in the Army Reserves until 2020. He specialized in IT and earned several military awards, including Good Conduct medals. Jabbar's descent into extremism underscores rising concerns about radicalization among veterans.
Radicalization of what exactly? Like
What
among veterans, my ass, because
that's just what this says.
I mean, I get that, but they're trying to put it out there like, oh, it has nothing to do with the fact that he was Muslim. It has everything to do with what then? He has an ISIS flag on the back of his truck.
Well, they said so. I didn't read the first paragraph. Sorry, because we had already talked about it. He posted videos pledging allegiance to ISIS hours before the deadly incident. Law enforcement sources revealed.
I love this. When a white person commits a mass shooting, Biden wastes no time in calling it terrorism because they could use the tragedy for political purpose and gain. Silence is complicity. But when a terrorist, while flying an ISIS flag, kills Americans, Biden refuses to call it terrorism. And that is the absolute truth.
Yeah, so I got a text message right away this morning, right after that press conference from somebody who we work with
Yeah.
that said, really? They're not going to call it a terrorist attack? And I said, probably not until after January 20th, or as
Right.
long as they can.
Right. Give me the initials.
SW. Come on, it ain't that hard.
I got nothing.
I'll send you a message.
All right.
It's in the chat.
Oh, Jesus.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right. Yeah. I wish they would call it terrorist, but they're not going to.
Well, they
This-
have
this
now.
is their-
The FBI has come out and said it. They basically came out and said, because in that same press conference where she said that it was not, about 2 minutes beforehand, the New Orleans mayor got up there and said it was a terrorist attack. And then she got up there and said, this is not a terrorist attack. And they couldn't anymore. And then you had that Vegas thing that happened, and they couldn't do it anymore. They couldn't toe the line to not have a terrorist attack on Biden's watch for someone that just crossed the border. And I know that he didn't cross illegally, he came through a port, but those ports are so understaffed that you can't blame those guys.
They're doing all they can. And it's not just that, it's
That I have.
understaffed and they have everything going against them, right? I mean,
Correct.
so I
The
mean,
administration's against them.
right. I mean, there's nothing they can do. Ugh. This is insane. So where does this go from here? So I guess
Well, number one thing that we need to do, I believe the new Congress starts tomorrow, right? Is it tomorrow?
is it tomorrow or is it after the 6th?
No. The 6th or 7th is when they ratify the vote. The 119th Congress meets January 3rd.
Okay.
They need to get Tulsi and Pete and Cash and all those guys confirmed ASAP. Now I know they don't start right away, but they need to get that shit figured out.
Yeah. I want to know how big this is. If the guy who is in the Trump hotel attack is a Muslim, then we got a bigger problem than what we thought. If the guy in this bus is a Muslim, we got a massive problem.
Yep. They're
And-
doing a 10 a.m. briefing tomorrow, I think.
Yeah.
It's unclassified briefing for Congress. So we'll find out a lot more tomorrow after 10.
Okay. This is the thing that I think I'm probably most worried about right now. Like I said, if the guy in front of Trump Hotel turns out to be Muslim, even though it was a terribly executed attack, we got a bigger issue. If the guy in this bus turns out to be Muslim and we have some sort of casualty count there, that they don't get rid of this guy peacefully or get rid of this guy before he can cause damage, that's a massive deal. Okay, so why is that a massive deal? If you have 3 separate attacks, even if these are lone wolf attacks, and here's what people don't understand, even lone wolf attacks in the jihad world still all wrap around and are a part of a coordinated effort with terrorist plots. So let's just say one guy's ISIS and he carries out attack and throws an ISIS flag up. The other guy's Hamas, we'll say, or some sort of Palestinian, and he carries out an attack on this bus and has not even a single understanding or inkling that this ISIS guy just did what he did, or that we'll say another guy, Al Shabaab, will say, blew up a truck in front of the Trump hotel. Even if they're all lone wolf attacks, there's a driving message or something behind it, and that's what they're going to find. They don't even have to find it. They already know it exists. because all these cats go to the same chat rooms. They all watch the same imams and clerics, and because they're extremists, so they all watch the same shit. Um, which here's the thing that really, this is what gets me. This guy, the first guy in the vehicle borne attack, I bet you money we're gonna find out he was being watched. He was flagged for his radical behaviors. Um, there is a program in our government intelligence agencies that looks for these trigger words, right? And it's been there since after 9/11 with the Patriot Act. We found out about it in the Patriot Act, and I think it's called Sentinel. But anyways, it's a program that's out there and it watches. And when you use some kind of word or trigger word, it flags it and it sets it aside for somebody in the intelligence apparatus to then go back and look at the word. And if they believe that there's justifiable cause for them to go further, they will dig into you. And that's where that FISA warrant process was supposed to come. And then they could unmask you, find out everything about you when they built up enough of a profile or enough case against you, they would go that route, and then eventually they would go operational against you, and they would turn it over to the FBI, and the FBI would then go in and do their thing, right? We're gonna find out that this guy, there's no fucking way that they didn't know this guy existed. But what we will find out is that somebody was asleep behind the wheel. And if that's the case, this is the scary part for me, because if all three of these dudes either are connected or lone wolf, we're going to really find out that the Biden administration was asleep behind the wheel, and these people weren't being surveilled as much as they should be because of DEI stuff. What's up?
So I just got an update here from LVMPD. The person was taken into custody without further incident. So I'm
Had to be
guessing that's not connected.
had to be just a crazy
A
on a bus.
coincidence, yeah.
And that's the best possible
Yep,
outcome we could have had.
correct.
So then you're dealing with two
So
attacks.
now we're dealing with just the two.
Two attacks with both had what could be improvised explosive devices. Yeah, that feels better than three. But and here's the thing. Oh, and I don't like this. I mean, what I don't like about all of this is that we did a report of we did a podcast where we talked about it way back when. It had to be within our first 10 episodes about the border and how many terrorists had come
100%.
across
100%.
that had come across the border.
It was
And-
very early on. It was one of the first ones that we talked about we wanted to do.
Mhm. And I had said then, and you had said then, that this is gonna bite us in the ass.
Yes.
And you can't let these people into your country and not track them down and find them and remove them. And they had caught like 4 or 5, but we knew that others had been caught and released, and we knew that others had made it through.
Well, and they were lying about the numbers at that point
Correct.
because that was right before the big election.
So we're gonna see a lot of this all come to fruition. A lot of this stuff, like there's gonna have to be a new double down effort to search and find everything associated with those guys that came in that are on the watch list, those guys that aren't supposed to be here. And
Well, and the other thing is anybody that's connected to these people, if there is a network, the concern then is that they hurry and speed up their timelines before they get found out
they'll go
or get
operational.
caught. Yeah.
And so one of the things that I think we came across a lot overseas, you had individual networks, and what we found out was, so you'd have 4 or 5 guys working together in a network, right, carrying out attacks. And those 4 or 5 guys weren't the leader, because really what we ended up finding out is there was really like 10 or 12 networks, and there was one guy pulling the strings and underneath him he had 5 or 6 different people. He had runners that he would have go pull the strings, like, you're gonna do your attack today, you're gonna do your attack today. Baghdad 2007, we were right behind I mean, we just behind the go order for uh the multiple market attack that killed like 700 and something people.
Mm-hmm.
And we were like minutes behind that. Um, Sadly, but that's how they worked, right? So, and they did it that way. They operated in multiple teams, right? Multiple different teams. And one team, it was compartmentalized. If you rolled up one team, they had no idea.
Mm-hmm.
They had no idea. And
They
the
just knew
most,
their runner.
yeah, and the most they could do was give you that runner, but that runner went to a runner who then went
Mm-hmm.
to a runner who then came back to the main
Mm-hmm.
guy who was pulling the strings, right? So like
Mm-hmm.
they'd give up that runner, and then we had to, and I think I've told you about the EWO, the electronic warfare operations we were doing, where we had
Mm-hmm.
the EWO guys rolling around with us, and a cell phone would pop on, and we would spool up, and we'd go out, and we'd ball up this guy because his cell phone was on, and we'd yank him up because he was a high value target that we wanted to find. Because if you can get to their runner, then you'll get to the next guy, then you'll get to the next guy, and eventually, through the process of elimination, you get on upwards to the main guy you're trying to go for, right? Or somebody
Mm-hmm.
turns over some information somewhere. And so like I said, what we found out was like there'd be 5 or 6 of these teams, and each one of those teams would have 5 or 6 runners. So like the team would talk to person A. Person A could go to person B, C, D, or E. Person B, C, D, or E could go to person E, F, G, H, whatever, F, G, H, I. And
Mm-hmm.
then one of those guys would go back to the commander, if you will.
Mm-hmm.
And it was fucking impossible. It was hard. I mean, we until we figured out that they were way more in depth, and we had no idea. And this is just kind of something that I'll talk about. When we pulled some of these guys out of their networks and pulled them out of their houses, they had notebooks full of writing, and our interpreter had to interpret all these notebooks. They could tell you what platoon of what Marine group was on the ground or what Army group was on the ground for what company, from what battalion. They did recon on everybody, and they had notes like, hey, you can attack these guys because they're soft, they're not going to fight back as hard. Don't attack these guys. You can attack these guys at this patch on their shoulder. Don't attack these guys at this patch on their shoulder. The special operations guys are staying over here in this sector. These guys are staying over here. And we found all that shit. So they were doing just as much intelligence gathering on us as we were trying to do on them.
Mm-hmm.
And that was shocking when we found that, right?
No.
So what I'm getting at with all of that is, even if these two are connected, the guy in front of Trump Hotel and the guy who drove through, if they're just lone wolves and it's radicalized and they were radicalized via the internet on some website, that's kind of the best case scenario, because then it stops with them, right? And maybe you don't have a bigger problem. But we already reported a long time ago that we know that there's a lot of people
Hundreds.
who are part of ISIS, part of some other terrorist organizations, part of the Palestinian Authority, there was Hamas people that got across the border. So these aren't people that really want to be kind to Westerners. So if that's the case, and there are networks here, it is going to be a gigantic task to find it. And here's one reason why I do believe that we at least have a network here right now operating, because you sent me that message, that X post about Kennedy coming out and saying there's an ongoing threat.
Mm-hmm.
If you just thought it was a lone wolf, the threat died.
Yep.
Right.
But he's not the only one. That other representative, that video I was looking for, he said the same thing. This is not the only one.
No. And that tells me that we have a network here. You brought up the Mexico connection. That's smart. If you're one of the terrorists, if you can use the coyotes from the cartel to get across the border unchecked, whatever you want, that is smart to keep your base of operations in a foreign country that's sympathetic to you because of the cartels, right? The cartels have bought that government. The cartels control that country.
Mm-hmm.
So they're splitting that country in sections, just like gangs, like Bloods and Crips, but it's cartel land. Who created the cartels? The fucking CIA created the cartels. So it's smart to go down there, and that's your base of operations. And then to use the coyotes to get across, you have somebody advon, which means in advance of, right? That's over here that you're using to bring your your jihadists in, right? So you sneak your jihadists across the border, and you do it onesies and twosies. You don't do it in a big group. You can do onesies and twosies. And here's the best, or the shit of it all. This is gonna sound racist, but I don't give a fuck. They look like they could be Hispanic coming across the border. You can't tell very well between somebody who's Puerto Rican or Iraqi, or you can't tell that much. I mean, the dark hair and dark features are the same.
Yeah.
So even if you ball somebody up, if you can ball somebody up and it's a terrorist who can speak Spanish, holy shit. Like, they're just going to seek asylum and go.
Mm.
They all rip their IDs up at the border anyway because they don't want
Yeah.
to tell you who they are,
Yeah.
right? So they're going to make up a name and go. So it's dangerous. And that's the other thing too. I was going to say that we knew in 2007 or 2008, we were coming across people in Iraq who we knew were AQI, Al Qaeda of Iraq, that were learning how to speak Spanish. So that even then in 2008, that was known. And we were like, what the fuck are these guys trying to learn Spanish? And of course, it's an attack on the homeland. They're just learning it because they figured they could eventually go through Mexico and attack us. So you might have a connection here that actually comes through, and it's gonna be something that we don't want to talk about, we don't want to be a part of, but we might not have a choice.
Yeah.
And the hope is that we just don't see our CIA point the finger at China and Russia as a part of it, because then all hell breaks loose. All hell will break loose. But the next 30 days, man, oh boy. If there is
19 days.
This is scary. This is a very scary, scary thought. If you are ISIS, if you are Hamas, if you are Hezbollah,
I know where you're going.
if you are any of these terrorist factions that want to create the caliphate, the one man who's going to stand in your way is about to jump into the White House in 19 days with a Secretary of Defense who wants to put a boot in your ass, with a House and a Senate who will be on board for putting a boot in your ass. We've said it before, man, this is the most dangerous time we've probably ever lived, for us anyways, right? It's making me nervous, bro.
Yeah.
Why is it making me nervous? The drones on the East Coast searching for nuclear material, a made up story that they're using drones to search for nuclear material that came from a nuclear plant. They lost the source. Bullshit. You know how many sources from nuclear plants get lost? Dude, I mean, you and I both know how many fucking anyone listening to this knows how much. Any of our buddies know how much gets, like, bullshit. That is a cover-up story beyond.
Well, that's funny. Like, they talk about a source, right? And just to put this in perspective, every X-ray machine in the fucking world has a source.
Has a source, yeah.
So that by talking about source, we're not talking about like a fuel rod,
right?
We're talking about something very small,
right?
That's gonna do no damage,
minuscule. They are not putting up a drone to go look for this thing. A source that. Did you hear how it happened? Supposedly, it fell out of the back of a Sealand container that was damaged in transit, and the source fell out. Right.
Of course, because that source was just happened to be right at the door.
Right. And it's not encased,
not packed away.
Yeah. So it's bullshit. That was a cover down story that they used. I saw through that.
I didn't see all that the BS about it. That's interesting. I'm gonna have to find that.
Yeah. I saw through that as soon as it came out, and I was like, nope, the CIA whistleblower already told us they're looking for the backpack nukes that we knew had made it to Syria, that we knew
we've known forever were missing.
Right.
We've known since the Cold War that they were missing.
Right. So, I mean, we knew that it was something like that. And even if it's not, they can still use those same sniffer drones to look for freaking chemical.
Anything.
And biological agents.
We know he had chemical and biological labs.
So
and weapons.
And that's the terrifying thing to me is like, okay, those drones are on the East Coast. They knew something was
Mhm.
coming.
Mhm.
They're looking for stuff, and the terrorists are like, "Oh shit, these
Mhm.
drones are up above." So
Mhm.
maybe they didn't launch whatever they had, or maybe there isn't any of that. Maybe it's all just fear mongering and whatever.
Yeah.
But
A well-placed leak from the CIA or whistleblower to
absolutely
cover
could
up
be,
something else.
absolutely could be, or just to control people with fear so they can get,
Yep.
their legislation passed so they
Yep.
can use drones to harvest people's cell phones transmissions
Yeah,
and
they can get more data,
right. I mean
invade
the
more of your privacy.
invade more of your privacy, right? Uh but something tells me too, like if they want to do that, if they want more of your privacy invaded, they want to be able to use and just take whatever they want. All they'll do is they'll let another terrorist attack happen that's big.
Yeah, exactly.
And then they'll be like, well, we need to pass this because
Hmm.
if we have this, we can find. Oh, don't worry, we're not looking at you.
we could have
Could have
stopped that.
stopped it, right? We're not going to look at your stuff.
Hmm.
We're going to look at only a terrorist stuff, right?
Yeah, yeah. How'd that work out?
Until like you're a political opponent and we don't like you,
Yeah,
right?
yeah. And
So
then you unmask everyone.
right, but I am I mean I've said it now probably the last 4 or 5 episodes. I am really worried, and why am I worried? Because if you're Hamas, if you're Hezbollah, if you're somebody from the Iranian Revolutionary Guard who's really pissed off about Soleimani, if you're Al Qaeda, if you're ISIS, if you're Al Shabaab, you definitely don't want Donald Trump in office, right? Um, man, I just something bad is coming down the pipe, and I can feel it, I can see it. The same pieces are falling into place that they did in 2000 and 2001. You have the same kind of sleepy government that's not paying attention and isn't aware of an attack that could be imminent or not really seeing the warning bells in the George Bush administration and the Bill Clinton administration. Clinton was more focused on Kosovo and that kind of crap and different projects that he could put in place in the economy. And then in George Bush, kind of got ambushed by it. And now with Obama, like the Arab Spring, you made the all of the Middle East the fucking Wild West. You gave them all the weapons you possibly could to get rid of all of these people that you wanted gone to create the fucking Wild West for the Middle East. Um, and you allow them to grow in size by calling them a JV team, right? And then Trump gets in office and drops the fucking hammer. And then Biden gets back in office and he's like, here, Iran, have, $12 billion of your money that we're going to give you. Here,
Mhm.
take that. Oh, but we're going to attack, the Russians in Ukraine left and right because that's where my business deals are or whatever, right?
Mhm.
Uh, so now you've been asleep at the wheel for a long time. The last terrorist that I can remember being killed was killed by Trump. I don't even remember in Biden's 4 years hearing of a successful operation against a terrorist group. I know they just said they carried out airstrikes against ISIS. That's not confirmed. That's just the media telling you they're dropping
Yeah.
airstrikes on ISIS fighters in
Hmm.
Syria. And even if you are, you just backed them to overthrow Assad so they could get their weapons.
Yeah, I think yeah. Um I want to say there was one airstrike carried out that they got somebody, but um everyone that comes to mind has been Israel.
Yeah.
So I don't know for sure. It feels like there's been one, but I'm with you. Like nobody of
Importance.
stature that you can remember,
Right.
right? Like
Al Baghdadi.
nothing big enough where they had a press conference about it or anything like that.
And they may have. I mean, I might be wrong. They may have. I just don't remember it.
Yeah,
And
that's what I'm saying.
the
Like,
reason why I don't remember it is it could be because of the DEI bullshit and how the
yeah.
border's wide open and we're worried about so much other
Hmm.
stuff, right? So
Hmm.
like,
Hmm.
um, yeah, I just, dude, I don't fucking like it. I don't like it. I don't like it. And here's what I don't like, and I know this is like my worst case scenario.
Yep.
January 20th, Trump goes to be inaugurated, and there's a backpack nuke. Do you know how bad that would be?
Be
I mean,
really, really bad.
just imagine that. Like, that'd be fucking awful. If
Mhm.
somebody can get in, now they're gonna have magnetometers. They're gonna have their own drones. They're gonna have the sniffer drones up. I mean, there's gonna be so
Mhm.
much protection over top of that inauguration that I would think it would be virtually impossible to get that thing anywhere near it. Um, but it's still fucking terrifying to think about. I mean, you don't even have to do it during the inauguration. Just wait till he's in the White House. Just walk right up to the outside of the White House,
Mhm.
to the gate, the fence line outside. That's all you have to do. And that's that, right? If you get Vance and Trump together at the same time, that dude, and I'm just fucking terrified of it. Like, uh,
Do it now, Mar-a-Lago.
right. They don't want
Mhm.
Trump. They can't let Trump be in. And when I say they can't, I mean the terrorists
Mhm.
and the deep state. Like,
Mhm.
this is bad when you have the deep state who can't afford to have Trump come into power, and you have
Mhm.
terrorist factions that can't afford to have Trump come into power. Uh, that's bad
Yeah.
because we already know that they are more than willing to look the other way and endanger Trump. You know what I mean? At least the deep state faction.
Mhm.
Oh, we're gonna let that building stay there at 147 yards. Oh, there's a guy climbing on that building with a rifle. We don't see him.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like we've seen this already,
Mhm.
and it makes me nervous, man. And it's one I don't want to be right. I don't want to be right. I don't want to be right about it.
Yeah. I hear you.
Yeah, God, I'm still looking at this picture. That's just like, I thank God that is amateur hour.
Mhm.
Yeah. Okay. Pretty cool explosion though, huh?
Yeah.
What a putz. Did you see the fire department? They must have. Okay, that's why. Never mind. I was just looking at this. The fire department's pulling off a black tarp over the top of that truck, the cyber truck, and obviously it's because the guy was on the inside.
Yeah.
So they
Well,
just
I wondered
covered
if
it.
that tarp is actually like the fire blanket. Yeah, have you
Mhm.
seen those where they can cover the vehicle because they can't put water on the Teslas, right?
Oh,
I'm thinking maybe that tarp is actually like a fire tarp, a fire blanket that puts out the fire. They put it over the top and it puts it out.
I never knew that.
Yeah.
Yeah, I guess I don't know if that's what that was. That's kind of cool.
Yeah.
You know what amazes me?
I don't know that for a fact,
I,
but
I mean, I don't either, but you know like the balls, the size of the nuts on firefighters. Like I'm gonna fangirl here for a minute. Like, I get it. Cops have a hard job and they go out and there's no way that I'm going to say that police have an easy job for this,
yeah.
especially in the last 10 years. Their job sucks. And I know it comes down to like fractions of a second that you have to make the decision and it's a life or death decision for a police officer. So cops have a fucking impossibly hard task to be the
Hmm.
peacemaker and a life taker all in the one, span of 3 seconds. Like that, it's impossible. But I would much rather have a pistol on me or a rifle and get into it with somebody else. I stand a fairly decent chance of coming out of that, you know what I mean? In a one-on-one or one-on-two or whatever it might be, right? I feel like I would come out of that decently enough. Um, because I think I could get myself out of the situation or at least get myself far enough away from the situation that I could get my buddies to show up and I would just have a fighting chance. But firefighters, bro, like they just like bust open a door that's already on fire with flames pouring out of the fucking top, and they're like, "Hey, you guys want to go in here and see what we can find?" No, You know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
the nuts on these dudes.
Hmm.
And they just walk up to this fucking truck after it's exploded, not knowing if it's gonna explode some more, and they're like, "Hey, you guys want to go check this shit out?" I just kudos to him, man.
So I got a update on the Trump Tower thing.
Okay.
This was from 6 minutes ago. Breaking: bomb squad hazmat team swarmed Trump Las Vegas after Cybertruck explosion. Says bomb squad and hazmat teams have been deployed to Trump Tower, Las Vegas, following today's deadly Cybertruck explosion. Authorities are investigating potential additional threats at the site. It says the FBI, and then it says the FBI raid Colorado Springs townhouse possibly linked to Las Vegas Cybertruck explosion. This is from Nine News somewhere. Nine News investigates has learned through a source that the person who rented the truck and drove it to Las Vegas has lived in Colorado Springs and has military experience. What does that sound like? The other guy?
Yeah.
Nine News is choosing not to identify the person until law enforcement has publicly identified them. A search warrant is being executed at the property tied to the person.
So if this is another one who's former military in our military that ends up um being Muslim and being extremist and helping,
Mm-hmm.
um I think his name is Nassim Hamad, the Fort Hood shooter.
Yeah.
Remember that
Yep.
Obama
I do.
refused to cause
He,
that terrorism?
yeah, and there was something about all the victims too because of
Yeah,
him refusing to call it a terrorist attack.
right. And because he wouldn't call it a terrorist attack, nobody got the pay for like being killed in the war on terror. It was just, workplace violence.
Jesus
So
Christ. There's a mass shooting in New York City. At least 11 people have been shot in Queens. This is an active situation. This was 11 minutes ago. It's fucking day one.
yeah, yeah. I told you I sent you that fucking the reason why I sent that gif of the dude about to flick the tiger in the nuts and said, "Okay, here we go. This is to the new year. Let's see how
Yeah.
this goes." Because I'm telling you, man, this isn't good. The way this is going, like in Queens, maybe it's not terrorist, maybe it's just gang related.
It was at a nightclub.
It's
Maybe. I mean, it could be, but remember that one,
the Pulse
the Pulse
shooting.
shooting was terrorist.
Pulse nightclub was terror, and they refused to call that terrorism.
Correct.
Oh, please tell me that we are
The
not.
problem is everything's just happening all at one time, right? So the Las Vegas bus thing, we don't know yet, but probably not related since he went into custody.
Yeah,
And now this thing, maybe it's not related, but there's a lot of shit going on, A lot of raids happening all over the place, and who knows if that's gonna make somebody else go active.
this is something else, dude. So
Yeah, this an hour ago, bomb squad vehicles continue to arrive at Trump Hotel in Las Vegas.
okay, so this guy's awards, the Army Commendation Medal, the Army Achievement Medal, and Army Good Conduct Medal. Those are just freebies. They give those to
Yeah,
everybody.
yeah.
Uh, he got the Afghanistan Campaign Medal with Campaign Star. Okay, so he's been to Afghanistan, but he served as an IT specialist and a human resource specialist in information technology. So he was in the computer side IT of the human resource development. All right, so oh boy. So the other thing too that really got me, you know what a fatwa is?
What's that?
A fatwa?
Uh-uh.
Okay. So I'm gonna look this up because I
I'm just
remember it.
I'm just looking at this. So it looks like the suspects of the shooting in Queens are at large.
Oh,
So they
great.
went in, they shot, and they bailed. And it was just a couple blocks from the Jamaica Long Island Railroad station. So
They're gone.
they're gone.
Okay, so a fatwa is a non-binding religious ruling on Islamic law issued by a qualified Islamic scholar or mufti. The word fatwa comes from the Arabic root fty, which means to decide or to give an opinion. Fatwas are often issued in response to questions from individuals, judges, or governments about Islamic law or doctrine. They are considered authoritative but are not legally binding, and the requester can seek another opinion if they find the fatwa is unconvincing. Fatwas have played an important role in Islamic history, serving to inform the Muslim population, advise courts, and take a stand on doctrinal controversies. For example, in 89, Iran's Ayatollah Khomeini issued a fatwa calling for the assassination of Salman Rushdie in response to Rushdie's novel, The Satanic Verses, which some Muslims considered blasphemous. Uh, the earliest known use of the word fatwa was in the early 1600s. It is partly a borrowing from Italian, partly a borrowing from Turkish, and partly a borrowing from Arabic. So why do I bring that up? Because when we were over there from 2002 to 2008, um, we realized or we heard that fatwas were issued to fighters over there for them to blend into our society,
Hmm.
live like Americans, because they have a real problem with smoking and drinking and like, you know, doing the stuff that we do and acting like they're Westerners because they think we're infidels. And they had to go and ask their religious clerics, and there's one religious cleric, especially, and I can't remember the guy's name, but for any of the guys who are vets that are listening, let me know because I'm sure one of you remembers his name. But he came out and issued a fatwa telling all these guys that it's okay to smoke, it's okay to drink, it's okay to womanize, it's okay to partake in Western culture, as long as it in the end is to kill the enemy, which is the infidel, which is the Westerners. Go ahead and live with them, act like them, befriend them. And then he said, when you get the first chance, you cut their head off. And I remember that was when we heard that, we were like, that's really fucked up. But a lot of these dudes we learned in 2003, 4, and 5 actually left the country and were traveling in Europe trying to get to the United States. And the fatwa was out there, which it's a big deal. Why do I bring that up? Because I mean, what's the potential that one of these guys has been here as a plant for a long time, following that same kind of thing, waiting for somebody to activate him, you know?
Yeah. Yeah, that's a terrifying thought.
Yeah, that is absolutely the one thing that they're doing that the US never did or never does is they're playing the long game, bro. And you've heard me say this, like I created more terrorists than I killed, right? You go to war and you shoot some guy who's got an AK-47 and he's got 5 sons. Well, guess how many terrorists you just created who are going to be sympathetic with the cause to go after the infidel, right? I mean, we
Right.
killed more people than we probably should have, but we created more terrorists for sure than we were fighting.
Sending you a tweet that is supposedly the guy from the Tesla truck that's identified, but I'm not saying his name on here. I've only seen it one place. And yeah, to your point, you have said that a lot. Like, um, you're you're leaving all these kids. You're killing their dads, their uncles, everybody. Um, and you know, it's not. I don't know. Yeah, honestly, just the talks with you about your experiences, um, at work and stuff, like when we have a chance to talk. Like it's crazy. It's stuff I'd never had thought about. Um and you're right. Like, what do you do? What do you do? You get sent in to do this, and like now, what like you've talked about a lot of times, that you're just angry about how we're all lied to. You were sent there on a lie.
Yep.
You joined up on a lie. Like,
hmm
and
I think that's one of the bigger things that pisses me off is like my buddies were killed for a lie. You know
for
what
a
I mean?
lie, for somebody's lie.
And now I know it was a deep state lie. It was a money grift. It was all about making money and finishing off Saddam Hussein. And it was all about hiding the real truth behind September 11th. It was all about poppy fields and getting the CIA's production back up for the opiates to sell and to, cut checks and have pharmaceutical companies have cheaper access to opiates. And as soon as that happened, look at how massive our opioid epidemic happened. I mean, our opioid epidemic crisis, like that exploded between 2005 and 2020, right? Well, what happened?
Mhm.
Well, we got the poppy fields up and running.
Mhm.
We ran all that poppy out. The CIA was able to allow those guys. I mean, we built roads in Afghanistan for these farmers to freaking, cultivate
Mhm.
poppy.
Yeah.
The Taliban took all those fields away. We fucking put them in first thing we did, right? And then I get sent to Iraq for weapons of mass destruction. There's not a fucking weapon of mass destruction there. I've seen a lot of like, I was all over that fucking place. I mean, I was all over that place. Never once did I find a weapon of mass destruction there, you know?
Yeah.
Um, and I know there's others that are going to say they have. No, you didn't. It would be all over TV.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah. They
it's
were waiting to parade those around.
right. You didn't. You you found the same stuff that we did. You might have found delivery systems with no weapons of mass destruction, and you didn't find sarin, you didn't find VX, you didn't find any nuclear material, you didn't find any of that shit.
Hmm. So,
So,
just an update on the New York thing.
mhm.
Looks like they've tracked a gray Infiniti Q50 sedan with New Jersey plates that may be linked to the mass shooting. So it looks like they'll
They're tracking
be
this truck.
yeah, they'll be getting those people here pretty quick.
Oh, that'd be nice. But I'm hoping it's not terrorists. Like, I mean,
Yep.
just like with this bus attack thing. But then so check this out. I mean, you sent me the name of the individual. We're not going to say it on here.
Hmm.
Um, just because we don't know, right? I'm not going to say somebody's
Yep,
name,
we've seen it from one person that we don't know.
right?
So, and I've never seen anything from this person before. Like they've got a blue check mark, but that doesn't, you can buy that. So
Yep.
I'm not saying it until I get it from somebody who's reliable.
Yeah, there's no need. Uh, but if this name is correct,
Hmm.
it goes with what we said originally. This is just a statement, and
Probably.
maybe not connected to a terrorist organization, but probably a pro-Hamas, pro Palestinian individual. And this this actually would explain why the explosion in the Tesla truck was not what it could have
Correct.
been,
Correct.
because this was amateur hour,
Hmm.
which is what we had originally thought. So let's hope that this one is a standalone all by itself, and let's hope the first one is a standalone all by itself. But like I said with the lone wolf thing, it doesn't mean that there's not a connection, because they could all be going to the same radicalization websites. And who knows? Individually, one guy could be reaching out to all of them saying, "Hey, you should do this,"
Hmm.
and pulling the strings. So we don't know anything, but right now that makes me feel a hell of a lot better than what I was feeling a minute ago. So the guy on the bus hopefully is just some guy who was having a bad day, right? Somebody who was being crazy and then surrendered. Let's hope. we need to get that guy's name. I'd like to see what that guy's name is, and I'd like to see if he's Antifa affiliated or somebody who's affiliated with Palestinian, pro-Palestinian protests at college campuses or anti-Israeli protests, things like that. I would like to know that. Then I want to know, we'll know shortly if this guy's who was uh the car bomb guy. If this guy, well, we're gonna know by the morning what is everything about him by morning if this is true.
Yeah, I think
It
so.
looks like this could be, you could definitely be onto something because I'm seeing his name now too pop up.
So just a side little comment,
Yep.
lighten out the mood a little bit here. Today during Senator Kennedy from Louisiana, his press conference, he said, reporter said, NBC is here on the right. Kennedy, that's an unusual position. Reporter, I don't get it. Kennedy, you wouldn't.
I love his trolling.
Yeah.
He is, he's pretty good. Yeah.
So, just reading this. Sorry for the down. Catherine Herridge had a tweet a while ago. Wow, this is long. Um, this was from 2 o'clock this afternoon. It said, based on 2 decades of covering terrorism and intelligence, not clear New Orleans threat potential cell neutralized. Bourbon Street may have been a target of an opportunity after a larger plot was disrupted. Law enforcement seeking range of suspects indicates there may already be evidence of broader conspiracy. Based on conversations with former law enforcement, there is a standard operating procedure or SOP.
Mhm.
Um, let's see. Talks about the warrants, the CCTV. Um, hmm, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, you got to
So
figure,
everything, just everything that you've been talking about.
yeah. I'm just, the more we see it, the more that we're gonna hear. Uh, you can't really do this on your own anymore, which is kind of the crux of this whole thing for terrorists. Like he was a perfect person to radicalize, right?
Yeah.
But it's very difficult for anybody to be radicalized just on their own. You know what I mean?
Hmm.
So there's always an outside influence, an outside resource. This individual was, we're going to find out he attended a mosque. We're going to find out that there was people in the mosque that were questionable. We're going to find out that they put him in touch with somebody. We're going to find out that he started looking at websites and after some sort of event that they'll probably say it was after we killed Soleimani or something like that, right? Or ISIS inspired or whatever it was, like after we started killing ISIS or after we killed al-Baghdadi or whatever it is. We're gonna find that out. And then we're gonna find out that others had come in and were looking for people like him. This is the thing that gets me. It's like last it could be anywhere.
Hmm.
It could be anywhere. I mean, we have so many mosques now around this country. It could be anywhere. And I'm not saying it has anything to do with the mosque because there's plenty of peaceful Muslims that are at these mosques, but um, this is where they find them. This is where they go, and it seems to be like if you're gonna find somebody who you can radicalize, you attend and you develop and you look for somebody, and that's what they do. I mean, just like we do, right?
Yep.
And if you think about it, our recruiters are going to the young and the impressionable, or the people that are, that don't have much option or many options, or they're angry and they go get them. So that's what they do. They go to high schools, they go to fairs, they go to whatever, and they try to latch on and they try to grab somebody and they try to put them in the military. It's no different for terrorists, except for they've gotten really good with their PR drive, right? We give them plenty of ammo, and the Biden administration has given them more ammo than even the Obama administration has. But I mean, if you look at how the DEI, the trans push, all this stuff, these people think we're infidels to begin with. They think we're pedophiles and perverts, and they think we're terrible people, and we are the devil, is what they say. We're the great Satan. And you're giving them all the ammo you need for their recruitment drives. You know what I'm saying? So it's an easier thing now to recruit a terrorist than it's ever been, probably ever, especially since, it's become such a popular mainstream thing with what ISIS did with it. If you look at the recruitment video stuff before ISIS, there was no like pro level production to it. You look post ISIS, all of these videos are like professionally edited. They like have good clips. It's not like somebody just did this on a freaking VHS recorder back in the day. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
So I don't know.
All right, I got two things.
We're
Oh,
okay,
go ahead.
let's hear it.
Finish first.
No, I was done.
All right. Both vehicles were rented from the same Turo app, which is apparently a app that allows private citizens to rent out their vehicles.
Oh, good.
So there's a connection there. I've never heard of that app before.
I have not either, but we're gonna be hearing a lot about it now.
Yep. And just did you see the LinkedIn of this guy?
Mm-mm. Which one? The one that
It
we're not
doesn't
saying the name, or the
the
other
guy
one?
we're not saying the name of.
Okay. Do you have it?
Yeah, let me go back to it doesn't what this guy's past was, and that mess of a bomb doesn't make sense to me. I'm sending you a thing right now.
Okay.
It just he's supposed to be some special forces sergeant or whatever. Team sergeant. Just seems like he would have had training to know better than how that would work.
I'm wondering if this says he's an operations director and intelligence manager with special forces experience.
Mm-hmm.
So, is special forces experience a company, or
Well, did you see the next page? It's got the U.S. Army listed.
I definitely see this, and I have questions.
Mm-hmm.
I have definite questions, and I'll explain in a second. Some things are not adding up here. Mm-mm. Yeah, this is bullshit. Oh, so they got him as a Zulu, a Foxtrot, and an Echo. Okay, so I'll go through these because I don't know if you know what any of those
I don't.
signifiers mean. So if you're an 18 Zulu, 18 means your special forces. That's your 18 series is like your special operations community. Zulu means that you're a team leader or a team sergeant, right? So you would have an entire team. So this guy would be like a sergeant first class or a first sergeant, which is kind of shocking to me. And then they've got him listed as a 18 Foxtrot. Foxtrot would be like your intelligence analyst. So you would be like you'd be the one
You just
having
went
all.
super quiet.
Hear me now? You got me?
Very light. You're very light.
How's that?
It's a little better.
Any better?
Just a little bit.
How about now?
That's better.
Get my back to normal?
Yep.
Okay, so where was I?
You're talking about you just got done talking about 18 Zulu and you were going to the 18 Foxtrot.
Okay, so 18 Foxtrot is kind of like your um it'd be like your it's a specialty MOS within in the team, right? So you'd be like your the head of your intelligence assets. Like you would be the one you're the sergeant in charge of human assets, human resource assets, and intelligence gathering. So like this guy would have been in the talk, he would have been in on questioning people, he would have been like whatever. He's in that operations center gaining all the intelligence that he has to basically use with his team, right? Uh that's kind of a interesting role there because he definitely would have come across people where he could have been radicalized himself, but
Mm-hmm.
I don't know that I buy that. Then he's got 18 Echo. So 18 Echo is your comms guy. So um they know everything communication systems from radios to computers to networking to I mean they go to
Mm-hmm.
school for it and they are everything from satellite to analog to I mean everything. Um which is very interesting to me that somebody like this, like you said, wouldn't know as a team sergeant, as a Zulu,
Mm-hmm.
as an intelligence analyst. I mean, this guy's seeing what IEDs are on the roads, what
Mm-hmm.
types of IEDs. This guy's bringing the intelligence back to their demolition guy. They have a demo guy on the team. He's got a signifier just like this guy does. And they're working together to figure out how best to spot them, what the tactics are, the TTPs that are being used are. Um, and on top of that, he's a communications expert. So him and the demo guy probably were had numerous conversations about detonating because you're always worried about using the
Mm-hmm.
wrong radio frequency that could touch off some ICOM or somebody's the Motorola two-way, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so you're always worried about that kind of thing because their radios were definitely Harris and they were encrypted, but the Afghanis that were with them were definitely not. They would have been ICOM or Motorola, and they would have been worried about that. So they've had numerous conversations on what the explosives look like, how the explosives work, and what they have to be looking for. There's no way this guy. I don't know. You're right. This guy has a background. If this is true, if this is true, you have a special forces team sergeant leading a team of special forces operators who's probably reached the rank of first sergeant, master sergeant, somewhere in there, um, before he left. And he was leading a team of special forces operators. And he just randomly went to I mean, come on, something's not right here. He decided he was going to become a suicide bomber and go after to make a fucking explosive device to go after the Trump Hotel.
Yeah.
I don't know about that. I don't know about that. Is it possible he was told to go pick somebody up in this Cybertruck. Thought he was picking somebody up for something, and the Cybertruck rolled up and then detonated. Is it possible that
Well,
the explosives were in
he
the back?
rented it,
Ugh.
right?
Is it?
So
Well, we don't. I mean, is it his name that rented
with
it?
that, we don't know. We don't know, but
So
I'm guessing that's how they got his name so fast
yeah, it's
because
gotta be.
he was crispy.
Yeah, they definitely in the comments down below say that he was crispy. Yeah, this is I don't like it. I don't like it at all.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Um,
I saw somebody posted that a SWAT team in Houston had arrested somebody in connection to New Orleans. So should get more about that tomorrow, probably.
I just the Foxtrot designator gets me because I mean, as a Foxtrot, you would be working with Digis. So like you're working with the indigenous population and you're gaining information, you're gaining relationships. So you're basically trying to like create a new source of information, right?
Mm-hmm.
So this guy would be working with these people hand in hand. So I mean, you definitely could have a guy who then all of a sudden becomes um radicalized, if you will. I just don't see it happening. And come on, bro, like that fucking bomb is so fucking amateur hour. I'm trying to look at it right now again.
Mm-hmm.
I'm gonna look at the picture again because do I see anything that would indicate this guy? No. Nope. And nope.
All right, so I saw it on somebody that we that Mario Nafal.
Nafal. Yeah, Nafal. Nafal.
He is source confirmed 37-year-old Matthew Livelsberger, Colorado Springs resident, as the driver of the Cybertruck explosion at Trump Tower in Las Vegas.
Okay, so now there is a terrorist connection there. Colorado Springs is one of the most radicalized uh places between you have Minneapolis, you have Detroit, and you have Colorado Springs. The Muslim populations there are that's they're huge in all three places. So there's a potential for radicalization. Now keep in mind that he is a foxtrot, right? Before he was a Zulu, he was a foxtrot. Before he was a foxtrot, he was an echo. So he started off with comms and then he moved into foxtrot, which is the human resource. He worked with Digis, the indigenous population. He worked with uh building source intelligence, mission planning, and all those things. So there's the potential that he met some people while he was doing that then came to the States. They stayed in touch. I've stayed in touch with a few of my interpreters. Um and one of them lives in Dearborn. Um really good dude. I've stayed in touch with him, right? But there's a chance he stayed in touch with somebody and he moved to Colorado Springs and this individual moved to Colorado Springs and through relationships that he could have been radicalized and manipulated. This explosive device, this isn't an explosive device. This is something that like my
I was gonna
15
say
year
it's
old
something a kid would try to do to make something, a bunch of little things that go boom, make a bigger
right,
boom.
right. This is something a 15-year-old would do.
Yeah.
It is so amateur,
Yeah, it doesn't make sense to me.
and I don't know why he would. There's something bigger here than this
Hmm.
with this
Hmm.
guy. Something way bigger.
Hmm.
This feels dirty to me. This feels like he's being set up. But why? Why would you? I mean, we're getting into the weeds here, but this definitely feels like he was set up. Like this is,
And he was the only one in the vehicle, so he had to ignite it.
well, not necessarily. So this is why I said I want to know what the initiator was, right?
Hmm. Hmm.
If we find out there was a cell phone or because I'm gonna put my terrorist hat on, right?
Sure.
When we were over there and there was VBIDs that would roll up, the guy in the vehicle always had a switch. He always had a trigger, right? But if I domed him before he could hit his trigger, and especially in the T box, if I get him in the T box and he can't hit the switch, he's dead. The secondary initiating device was always a cell phone or it was a garage door opener, and somebody else would be there to clack that off if he died or he didn't get the balls to do it. He got cold feet, somebody else would clack it off for him, right?
Hmm.
So if it were me and this is part of a cell, I mean this is so juvenile. This fucking device is so juvenile. I mean, it's not even a device. This is just like you said, cobbled shit put together. Um, but you can tell there was something in the center that initiated and threw everything out.
Hmm.
Uh, and I think it was that black powder can that we're seeing there at the top.
Yep.
I think that was the initiating device. Why do I say that? Because it's got the biggest scorch mark on the side, and it looks like it went up in the air almost, and everything else got blown out from the side of it. So it could have been a fuse going to the bottom of that black powder can. He was hoping everything else would go off. That's fucking that's stupid. I mean, you're basically
Hmm.
making a rocket propellant at that point, and then you're initiating some burn material, something that's an extender or something that's like you're trying to initiate a fireball, and that didn't work.
Yeah.
Uh, but what you could do is you could put a blasting cap in there, and you could have a cell phone or a two-way radio tied to it, right? And you could have given him a two-way radio, so we could all have the same radio on the same frequency. And if he doesn't initiate it, I could key that radio, and that's how I'd initiate it. It's just, hit the trigger on the radio, the push to talk,
Yeah.
and then this thing would go through its circuitry, through its jumper, through its battery pack, and then it would initiate, and then boom, you'd have that blasting cap go off. So we need to know what the initiator was to see if this guy actually did it. Because I mean, the fuse would have to come out of the window into the back of the truck, right? And aren't Cybertrucks, don't they have like a hard top on their truck bed?
I don't know. I don't know how hard of a top it is.
This is, you're 100% right. This does not add up for what we're looking at to what this guy's experience is. It doesn't add up. Uh, the big thing again that gets me is he's from frick Colorado Springs. Um, let's look at something real quick. This is going to be very interesting to see where this goes.
What I just sent you is not related. It's just something for what the fuck.
Oh my God.
Mhm. Right on. Well,
I tell you what, man. Now you got me spinning here. You got me spinning with this guy's background. There's something not right. And I'm gonna put it like this. To reach the level of being a Zulu, an 18 Zulu, a team sergeant, you're leading the entire special forces team, not just the special forces team.
You went
ODA.
quiet again.
How about now?
Check your computer connection.
Is that
Worse.
how's that?
There you go.
Is that better?
Oh yeah.
So to reach a level of being a Zulu, like this guy, so you're a team sergeant, you're the guy who's in charge of a special forces team, not just any team, an ODA team that's an alpha team. So you're going to be like the guy on the team.
Mhm.
Okay. To reach that level, the amount of damage you can do in an attack on somebody, you could have done 10 times more damage that guy could have with a rifle
Mhm.
than what he did with this cobbled fucked explosive device. I mean, you could have he could have walked into that Trump hotel and opened fire and with his weapons handling skills,
Yeah.
his time in grade, his time in theater, the operations he's been a part of, he would have walked around and been able to fight off a lot of people. Instead, somehow he shows up in a Cybertruck with an amateur hour explosive device and he detonates it while he's in the truck
Mhm.
and kills himself and whatever else, no one else, just him. He
Yeah, I
does.
think he hurt 11 others.
That does not add up.
Mm-mm.
It doesn't. One of the things we learned early on with suicide bombers, the guy wearing the vest isn't the guy who made the vest. The guy who made the vest is far more important than the guy wearing the vest.
Mhm.
The guy who put this bomb in his truck isn't more important than this guy who was driving the truck. That's what doesn't make sense to me, right?
Yeah.
Like if this guy's radicalized, you want him. He's planned missions before as an intelligence operator, as a Foxtrot. He's led them as a Zulu, and he's got communications on lockdown as an Echo. This guy would be extremely important to you.
Mhm.
Extremely important to you if you turned him as a terrorist. How the fuck are you letting this guy go blow himself up?
Yeah, I don't know.
So this has to be either he lost his fucking marbles.
Mm-hmm.
Has to be something crazy. Has to be something like this can't be related. This can't. I don't know. This can't be related to terrorism, bro. Like it can't be what this. Like this is a suicide, is what this is.
Yeah.
But then you have the link between they use the same app, they got the
Mhm.
vehicles, they rented them. Like what the, dude? I don't know.
Mhm.
Like something is not adding up here at
Yeah.
all.
Yeah. I don't know, man.
Hold
There's
on.
there's a lot of stuff that needs to come up.
Yeah, I agree. Um, and people are going to take this and they're going to run with it. And I'll explain something here after we come back. I think we should do another couple minutes and then turn it down.
Okay.
Oh, did my microphone go crappy again?
Nope.
Okay. So I remember back in the day, I talked with somebody who's very well in the know, and they shared with me some information about a thing they could do to eliminate a suspect, or not a suspect, eliminate a terrorist, right? I want to just throw this out there. United States military extends the capability to control vehicles with access to satellite, such as, and then it goes on to say a bunch of satellite companies that operate in car, like OnStar and so forth. Cyber attackers could steal all your personal information in the vehicle via the satellite hack, as well as seize control of your vehicle, operate the braking system and steering systems remotely, causing a potential accident.
Sure.
Which is what happened with the, and then it goes on to talk about the aforementioned Jeep that was hacked, that was driven off the road.
Mm-hmm.
Bro, I don't like it. I don't like that this dude is sitting in the vehicle. Jesus,
I don't know. There's a lot of shit. Like he rented it. So how'd that shit get in the back?
This is going to be a conspiracy theory that's coming out.
Yeah.
This is absolutely going to be a conspiracy theory that'll come out that, mark my words.
Unless all that shit is bullshit on his resume.
Dude, I don't know. He's got pictures. He's got picture. Like if that's him in that picture.
Yeah.
If that's him in his picture, he's got a PEC 15 on there. He's got a suppressor, and on his suppressor, he's decked out in snow camo because he's riding a snowmobile. He's got definitely a freaking setup on his rifle that's worth a lot of money. The only thing he doesn't have on is body armor.
Mm-hmm.
He's got a freaking load carrying vest on, which is a little weird, and he's got a snowmobile helmet on, which that wouldn't be what he should be wearing. I don't know what the fuck that is.
Yeah, see, it's maybe all this shit is bullshit.
Yeah, could be.
And he thought he knew what he was doing if he put all that shit together, whatever. I don't know.
Dude, something's not right, man.
Yeah.
But mark my words, there will be a conspiracy that vehicle was hacked. This guy didn't know what he was driving, and they drove it there, and somebody else detonated it. It'll be, I'm telling you, it'll be a conspiracy by tomorrow night.
For sure. The only problem with that is it had to get loaded up.
Yeah, absolutely. And they're going to say that he had no idea what he was renting, and he was told to go there to pick somebody up. They're going to, you know how conspiracies work. They'll fucking make it up, and it's going to catch on, and it's not going to freaking, and it'll completely overshadow, because the conspiracy voices in this industry are going to grab it and they're going to go with it.
Yeah.
And it's going to completely overshadow the potential that A, he's either homegrown and radicalized, or B, that he just doesn't like Trump.
Yeah.
Fucking lost his shit. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So we'll see. But I hate that it's a Cybertruck. I hate that it's hackable. I hate that bio.
Mm-hmm.
I hate that. I hate that. I hate that.
Yeah.
And the other guy, I mean, he's in a fucking vehicle from the same company. I wish they didn't both rent the trucks from that same company.
Yeah.
I wish one would have went to like Hertz or something. You know
right.
What I mean?
For sure.
Because now somebody's going to be out there and they're going to go like, no, the CIA did this. The CIA freaking, they had both of these companies. Those are both CIA vehicles.
The MK Ultra, that's been all over the comments.
Oh God, already?
Oh yeah.
Ugh. I see. I mean, that didn't take long. I mean, that's. I don't like that. I don't like it because.
You don't know.
Well, we have to wait and see what they give us, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I guarantee you, if they don't have the option of giving us a bunch of bullshit.
Yeah.
Because 19 days from now, the truth will get in.
Correct.
And come out. Right.
Correct.
So this is very unique. If they had 3 years left to go, then I would be very suspect of what's going to come out. But they have to get this one right, because Trump's going to come in behind him and make sure that it was right. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, this is still going to be fresh.
Right. Right. So I mean, this is going to be something that's looked at to make sure that they're not playing a game here.
Yeah.
But fuck, what if they are playing a game, bro?
I don't know, man.
Like, what the fuck? Usually the simplest answer is correct, right? Usually. The simplest
Yeah.
answer to me is this guy met somebody in Colorado Springs who turned him. And I don't know why the fuck he got in a truck and gave himself up, because that is a dumb fucking move if you're honest, if you're a legit terrorist organization and you're trying to frickin'
Maybe he wanted to do something but didn't want to actually hurt anyone.
no.
Make a stand. Maybe it's not a terrorist thing. Maybe we're going too deep into it.
That's what
Maybe
I
it's
think.
just a political stand, and he didn't
And a
want
suicide.
he didn't want to take anyone else out. He just wanted to make noise.
I think that's probably what it's gonna end up being.
Could be.
It goes back to what we said originally. This is somebody who is trying to fucking
Yeah.
to
And take his background out of it. Like maybe the background helped him build something that maybe that's why he picked a Cybertruck.
yeah, there you go.
Right? Like
He didn't want to kill
the
anybody. He wanted
conspiracy
to-
can go both ways.
right.
Maybe it was something else and he didn't want
didn't want the damage.
anyone else. He was fucked. And
Yep.
he was gonna go out and he wanted to make some noise, so he grabbed the Cybertruck, Elon, and
Elon.
fucking blew it up
Went to
in front of
Trump Tower.
Trump Tower.
Yep.
I don't know.
That seems to me more realistic than
Mm-hmm.
fuck.
And it's just a fucking weird thing with the well, I mean that
timing
app
of everything else.
and that app is you're renting from people that have the vehicle, right? So if you're looking
Yeah.
for something
I mean,
specific,
This is like a
I don't know many places that are renting a
Air-
Cybertruck.
Airbnb of cars. You know what I mean?
Correct.
So I mean, we'll see what happens. But man, I can't wait. I can't wait to see what the fuck this is about.
Mm-hmm.
Did he have social media posts saying stuff? Did he have?
I don't know. It looked like all they found so far was his LinkedIn. So it doesn't look like he was on social media.
Man,
At least not in his name.
oh, I'm taking this step forward. You want to hear my conspiracy?
Yeah, let's do it.
All right, here it is. This dude's a special forces team sergeant, right?
Mm-hmm.
Not anymore. Here's what really happened.
Okay.
They're like, we have to fake your death. Okay. We got to fake your death because you are now moving in-house into some like higher up class that super duper top secret,
Mm-hmm.
beyond for your eyes only, right? I'm talking
Mhm.
like you're working with aliens
Oh,
and you're going,
okay.
yeah, like Space Force aliens, like super duper top secret.
Yeah.
All right. You follow me?
Yeah, I'm following the level. The aliens was just to tell you the level,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Or is he
Right, right.
actually going to work with aliens?
No, I don't know that that's the thing, but
Okay. All right. Okay.
super duper top
Yeah.
secret, right?
Yeah.
So they're like, hey, what better way to go out than to fucking have you blow yourself up in front of Trump Tower? But it's not his body. They just put some fucking random his ID on the guy, right?
Mm-hmm.
Because when they sheep dip you, I don't know if you've ever heard of that term.
Mm.
Sheep dipped. Okay, I'll talk about that after this. But when they sheep dip you, right? They pull you out. They pull you out of the military, and there's this is a real thing. This happens. They pull you out of the military. They get rid of your you don't exist anymore
Yeah.
because you're becoming a black ops individual.
Okay.
So they pull him out, they sheep dip the guy. They get a random homeless person. They do drive the truck there on like autopilot and have it park, and then they do detonate the truck. And we're gonna find out that the initiator it's a cell phone. They initiate the explosion. That's why there's only an explosion and flame instead of actual like shrapnel
Mhm.
and stuff, because they want this guy's body gone. And they want to
Mhm.
make a message about Trump being bad. They'll put some sort of stuff on his social media somewhere saying Trump's terrible, Trump's an asshole, whatever.
Mhm.
And he gets reinvented into a black ops guy, and he's going into super duper high speed undercover stuff.
Maybe.
Yeah.
That could be.
Yeah. We're gonna have a movie about him called The Bourne Identity.
Oh, I think there's already a movie like that.
Nah, no.
No?
He'll be the
That's
first.
very specific title.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Nah, no. Hasn't been no, haven't been done yet.
I haven't seen one like that.
Haven't seen that.
Yeah.
Thought of it all on my own.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, we'll see.
Oh, it's really weird.
Yeah.
Really weird to spend your entire like. I mean, to be a team sergeant, you got to be in for at least 15 years. Like,
Yeah, it said he was in 19 years, 1 month.
yeah, I mean that's just shy of retirement,
Yeah.
right?
So what happened?
I'm sure medical.
Maybe. Yeah, maybe.
Maybe fucking
Maybe he went crazy.
that could be. We'll find out, man. We're gonna know a hell of a lot about
Yeah.
more tomorrow.
Tomorrow we'll know a bunch.
But man, it just seems like you spent your entire time fighting in the war on terror
Mm-hmm.
to come home and do some terrorist type shit
Mm-hmm.
and like
Like
amateur hour at
bad
best.
terrorist type shit. Like
Yeah.
you should know better.
Oh, sheep dipped.
Mm-hmm.
So I want you to Google sheep dipped and see what the definition is.
Sheep dipped.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So a term used to describe temporary transfer of military equipment or personnel to non-military ownership for covert action.
Yep. So basically, and this has happened on several occasions with people. Uh, yeah, I'll fucking tell a story. You remember the guy I told you about that told us to take our money out of the banks by 2008 or by
Yeah.
2012 or whatever it was?
Yep.
2012. That's what we're talking about. That guy, that type of guy who was in the military and he was like, he had no family, he had no like there's nobody waiting for him so they could send him into some random country and do some shit and there's no knowledge of him, so if he dies over there he dies over there, like that kind of thing.
Mm-hmm.
They take those people and the term is like sheep dip, they reassign them and they in some instances they completely get rid of every aspect that he even existed. So little FYI for you.
Mm-hmm. Interesting.
Yeah, kind of, right? I mean, our government's dirty as fuck, so yeah, they need that.
Yeah. Yeah. Our government is pretty
They do that.
fucking dirty.
Mm-hmm. You know, my concern, like it's your concern too. I said our concern. I should have said our concern is that this continues, right? That this is day one. What comes day two, three, four, five? You know what I mean? Um, fuck everybody, keep your head on a swivel, man. I don't like. I don't like. Well, I just was at the mall with uh my wife and my daughters today. They were going and spending their Christmas money, and all day long I was just like my head on a fucking swivel all day long. Then my wife is like, "Why are you so jumpy? Why are you so nervous?"
Mhm.
And my 15-year-old said that she noticed that I was like, I mean, I was eyeballing everybody, like anybody coming near us. I was like, "All right, bro, you can get shot in the face." Like, um, my daughter's like, "Why are you so jumpy?" And finally, my wife's like, "What's wrong?" And I was like, I want to go." Like and she's like, "We're at the mall with your daughters so they can spend their Christmas money." I'm like, "No, I get that. I 100% get that, but we're not gonna stay here for like an extended period of time because I just something's not right. I don't like it. I don't want to be in these areas. I don't want to, and I don't want my family to be in that situation because I don't obviously want to have to be in that situation with them. Obviously, right?" And finally, I told my wife, I'm like, "There's a lot of shit going on in this country right now, and there's a lot of stuff that we need to start paying attention to. We shouldn't be in these high traffic places
Mm-hmm.
where it's one stop shop for a terrorist. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Especially when you put together the population of extremist Muslims in Minneapolis, in Michigan, in Colorado. I'm not saying that there are, but the potential is definitely higher, right? Because those are the three places where you have a lot more chance at it, right? The Muslim population is a lot higher. So not a good feeling.
Yeah.
I don't like it. And again, I told my wife, I'm like, it's not that I don't want to go do stuff. It's not that I want to like keep these kids under freaking lock and key until they're 25. I wish I
Right.
could, but I can't.
Yeah.
But at the same time, I understand what the dynamic is right now, and I understand what is taking place. I've really dove into Hamza bin Laden and what's going on there. I've looked at the CIA leaks. I'm listening to Kennedy say there's specific intel. I've heard that the freaking chatter overseas went silent. I've heard that. I kind of indicated that to you a couple days ago, like, hey, bro, something big's coming. Like,
Yeah.
so, I mean, we've got, buddies that are overseas that are worried just as much for us back here as they are for themselves over there. So that's
Mhm.
always scary. So,
Mhm.
For everybody out there listening, just, man, keep your fucking head on a swivel. And if you can stay out of high traffic areas until we get this all sorted out, until we get it figured out, right?
Yep.
I would recommend all of us just stay out of these areas, and you don't have to put up with it just in case. The worst, and I will tell you, the worst thing you will ever experience is going somewhere and having somebody die and know that you could have prevented it. And know that if you just would have told them, or you just would have been like, hey, man, we shouldn't be here. Like, I don't
Mhm.
like it. If you get that gut feeling that you need to get the fuck out, get the fuck out. Don't stay. If something doesn't seem right, it's that old motto, if you see something, say something. If something doesn't seem right, something seems off, something seems suspicious, fuck, man, like, say something, do something.
Hmm.
Don't just leave it out there and get your ass out of the area, right?
Yep.
I feel like we said, there's the potential for more attacks, and we know that there's more attacks, and now it sounds like they're looking for a bigger organization than just one dude.
Yeah.
So we'll see what happens. See what tomorrow brings, and it should be very telling, I guess.
Mhm.
Hopefully, we're just blowing this out of proportion, dude. Hopefully, it's nothing. You know what I
Yeah,
mean?
we can hope.
Hopefully, these are two random things, and one is a guy who hates Trump, who's pissed off at the world and decided he was going to go out with a bang, and the other's like some guy who's a ISIS wannabe. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Let's hope. Let's pray.
Yeah. But
All right, man. Well, I'm gonna say we should.
yeah,
Go to
we
bed
should
now.
get. All right, right on.
Well, hit him.
Yeah, follow us on our Facebook or X or whatever social media you use. We use, except for YouTube now.
Yeah, it won't be YouTube.
Not for very long. Anyway, check us out on our website, bluecollartakes.com.
Yeah, but that's okay because YouTube supports terrorism.
Oh, okay.
I don't know. It sounds like it.
Yeah, I guess.
It comes in all forms.
I guess. Yeah.
I'm not talking about like,
I get it. I get what you're getting. You're using a play on words.
Mhm, mhm.
So, all
Do
right.
you think they'll get it?
Yeah, I do. And this one will be banned too.
Yeah.
So, right on.
Fuck YouTube.
Yeah, fuck YouTube.
All right. Well, thanks everybody for listening, and keep your heads on a swivel, man.
Yeah. Make sure you're aware of your surroundings for sure.
Always.
Mm-hmm.
All right, everybody. You take care.
All right. Thanks, everyone.
Thanks for listening to Blue Collar Takes. Oh, and fuck YouTube.